Unexpected political earthquake.
In North Texas, a competitive race to fill the District 9 state Senate seat formerly held by Senator Kelly Hancock, who resigned in June to become the acting Texas comptroller.
On paper, this district shouldn't have been competitive at all.
The Fort Worth area district that we're talking about here has historically been won by Republicans. And for context, President Donald Trump won it by 17 points in 2024.
3 candidates jumped in to fill the void, setting up a fierce battle.
There are 3 candidates in the race, Democrat Taylor Remett and 2 Republicans, former Southlake Mayor John Huffman and conservative activist Lee Wombsgons.
But the Republican primary quickly turned into a brutal proxy war over one massive issue: gambling.
Senate District 9 is the first battle in a larger war next year between business groups who want the voters to decide whether to expand gambling in Texas and Christian conservatives who do not want casinos in Texas.
The money involved was staggering, with John Huffman accepting massive donations from out-of-state gaming interests.
They're also one of the very largest donors in Republican history, over 9 figures, over $100 million to President Trump, and millions of dollars to conservative leaders like Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Ted Cruz. And I'm honored to be on that list.
His opponent, Lee Wombsgons, didn't hesitate to attack him for it.
It's so silly. It's his deflection to getting caught with having over 94% of his campaign funds coming from one out-of-state gambling interest.
Heading into the runoff, Lee Wombsgons doubled down on her national support.
The special election for Senate District 9 in Tarrant County is headed to a runoff.
The initial numbers were a shocking warning sign for the GOP.
Democrat Taylor Remett with 48% of the vote, Republican Lee Wombsgons with 36% of the vote.
John Huffman lost, and Lee had to increase her numbers by 20,000.
Now, getting squeezed out of that race was Republican John Huffman, who was the mayor of Southlake. He came in third, likely splitting the Republican vote with Wombsgons.
But here is the statistic that really stunned political observers.
Remett spent $140,000. The other 2 Republicans spent probably more than $4 million when you talk about outside groups as well. That is a big change.
Money doesn't always buy votes, as the runoff would prove. Heading into the runoff, Lee Wombsgons had more than 500,000 Catholic and Baptist Trump supporters living in Tarrant County, and her campaign focused heavily on their conservative Christian values.
Now, she had the endorsement of President Donald Trump, neither getting that required 50% plus 1, thus triggering a runoff.
So my message has been consistent. I have over 30 years of fighting for faith, family, and freedom, and that's going to continue the message.
But will they show up? She also had a history for fighting on cultural issues.
Allowing biological males in women's bathrooms and locker rooms erodes decades of progress in securing women's rights and creates unsafe environments for women and children.
Meanwhile, Democrat Taylor Remett took a completely different approach.
I've been block walking all across Senate District 9, listening to voters, meeting them where they're at, and the overarching theme is that people are wanting something real, something true, and they're wanting and that's something different in politics.
He ignored the culture wars to talk about the economic reality of survival.
In Fort Worth, it would take $24 an hour to have a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment with basic needs to live a dignified life.
Fast forward to January 2026, and the impossible happened.
A Democrat beat out a Republican in a Texas Senate race. Taylor Remett will now represent District 9 in Tarrant County, winning over Lee Wombsgons by nearly 15%.
The margin wasn't even close. It was a landslide.
Remett got 57% of the vote, while his conservative Republican challenger Lee Wombsgons got around 43%.
Pundits immediately looked at how the messaging differed.
Remett's campaign centered around fighting for public schools and affordability for working-class families. Wombsgons focused her run on gun rights, cutting taxes, education, and protecting women's sports.
The losing candidate, however, blamed the voters rather than her strategy.
Wombsgons released this statement Saturday, calling her loss a wake-up call for Republicans in Tarrant County, Texas, and the nation. She said Democrats were energized and Republicans stayed home.
But she was right about one thing. The turnout was historically low.
A Democrat union leader, Taylor Remett, just won a runoff in Texas Senate District 9 with barely 15% of voters showing up. Yes, 15% now.
Democrats capitalized on that apathy with a candidate who didn't fit the mold.
But the Democrats did something very smart. They got a candidate that looked like a Republican. He ran on issues of President Trump.
Now Republicans are sounding the alarm for the midterms.
If you look at the generic ballot where it's about a D+6. That's a bad sign.
The fear is that without Trump at the top of the ticket, the base simply stays home.
What I'm worried about for Republicans? That President Trump's not on the ballot. Because when he's on the ballot, he brings people out.
In the end, the lesson for 2026 might be simple. Listen to the voters.
No matter you're a Republican or a Democrat, people just want change, and that's okay. I'm someone that is looking for that same change, and I hope that the voters here in Senate District 9 can trust me with that.
So are the conservatives not voters?
From the pulpit, the preachers preach, and they hear in the pews.
We better wake up the bride in this country, and we better stand on business, and we better pay attention to the people we put in office, and we better pay attention to how we're praying and laboring. We better pay attention to what we're doing right now. This is God sounding an alarm in America for his bride.
When it comes to voting in their neighborhood elections, they seem to slumber. Lee Wombsgons blamed Turnout. Our analysis, runoffs are the future Democrat playbook.
This wasn't a realignment. This wasn't even a blue wave. This was turnout malpractice. Texas didn't turn blue. Texas took a nap.
Follow TFN for in-depth election analysis, not the rushed, fly-by-the-pants coverage pushed by mainstream and partisan small tube media.